You know, every time the internet argues about stopping power, the conversation always ends up at the same place. AR-15s, AKs, scout rifles, whatever. But while everyone's busy measuring magazines and split times, there's a quiet corner of the gun world that doesn't need 30 rounds to end the debate. 10 rounds, sometimes less, is all it ever takes when the cylinder is big enough to make a grown man reconsider his life choices. These aren't polite handguns. These are the ones that show up to a gunfight carrying rifle energy in a package you can hide under a jacket. So, forget the Safe Queens and the Mall Ninja toys, because tonight we're counting down the 10 revolvers that hit harder, scare louder, and make pretty much any rifle feel a little overdressed for the party. The Smith & Wesson model 460 XVR with the full-length 14-inch barrel is the crown prince who showed up drunk on raw horsepower and ready to burn the kingdom down just to watch it glow. This is the longest production revolver barrel Smith has ever cataloged, turning the whole gun into a 21.3-inch, 76-ounce polished stainless middle finger to physics, common sense, and anyone who ever said, "That's enough gun." The X-frame is the same tank-tough platform they invented for the 500, but stretched and reinforced even further, with a massive top strap, triple-locked cylinder, and an integral compensator the size of a Red Bull can that actually drops felt recoil by 35%. While spitting a flame, you can read a newspaper by at midnight. That 14-inch Portihorn 60 caliber Lothar Walther barrel uses Smith's proprietary gain twist rifling, starting slow and speeding up as the bullet travels, keeping peak pressure in the happy zone while squeezing match-grade accuracy out of a bore big enough to lose a Sharpie in. Factory 395 grain loads leave the gate at a legit 2,300 FPS and slam home with 3,650 foot-pounds at the muzzle, more than a 458 Winchester Magnum, and enough to make a Cape Buffalo reconsider its career choices at 200 yards, where this thing is still packing north of 2,500 foot-pounds and cutting ragged one-hole groups if your wrist is made of rebar, and your ego writes the checks. The trigger is pure X-frame sorcery, a glass-smooth 910 LB double action roll, and a 4 LB single action brake that feels like it was tuned by angels who moonlight as gunsmiths. Orange high-vis fiber optic front blade, fully adjustable black rear, and a cushioned Hogue monogrip that turns what should be a bone-shattering beating into something you can actually shoot one-handed without scheduling wrist surgery. Scope it, red dot it, throw a bipod on it if you hate yourself. The frame is drilled and tapped from the factory because Smith knew somebody would. Downsides? Brother, this thing is longer than most carbines, weighs as much as a loaded Remington 870, costs more to feed than a pet grizzly, and the muzzle blast is a legit Class 3 event that sets off car alarms and makes bystanders duck for cover. Concealed carry? Only if your cover garment is a pup tent and you move like you're permanently listing to port. But when you absolutely positively need the highest velocity, hardest hitting, longest ranging production revolver on the planet that can still drop to 45 Colt plinkers. When you're feeling merciful, the 14-inch 460 XVR is the final form of handgun evolution. It's not a sidearm, it's a portable artillery piece that just happens to fit in a shoulder holster, and it's waiting to remind every rifle on the rack that sometimes the wheel still spins harder, faster, and meaner than anything with a stock ever dreamed. With a legend that Colt dragged out of retirement and made even meaner, the reborn Colt Anaconda sitting pretty at number 8. For around $1,500, you're getting a full-size, all-stainless double-action monster that tips the scales at a hefty 54 ounces unloaded, stretches 11.9 inches overall, and wears a beefy 4.25-inch barrel with a full-length underlug that does double duty as recoil insurance and structural spine. That big triple-lug barrel sits on Colt's beefed-up large frame, basically the same platform they built the original snake guns on, back when men were men, and .44 Magnum was the scariest thing on the street. Cylinder holds 6 rounds of everybody's favorite hand cannon medicine, the .44 Magnum, and with modern 240 grain jacketed hollow points or hard cast buffalo bore, loads you're looking at 1,180 to 1,400 feet per second, and anywhere from 740 to almost 1,000 foot-pounds at the muzzle, depending on how spicy you load it. The vented rib on top gives you an extra long sight radius. The rear sight is fully adjustable. The front is a bright red ramp insert that pops even in low light. And the factory Hogue overmolded grip is one of the best rubber stocks ever molded. It soaks up that sharp 44 kick so well you can actually shoot one-handed without hating life. Trigger is classic Colt, around 10 pounds double action with 0 stacking and a crisp 4-pound single action brake that feels like it came off a custom shop bench. Recoil is stout, but totally manageable thanks to the weight, and that underlug acting like a counterbalance. So follow-ups are fast, and the gun naturally wants to settle back on target. Pointability is insane. Raise it up and the big bore just lines up with whatever you're mad at, like it's reading your mind. Drawbacks, it's big, it's heavy, moon clips don't exist for it. So speed loaders are your friend, and concealed carry is a joke, unless you're built like a linebacker and wear Hawaiian shirts year-round. But for home defense, vehicle work, or just walking around the woods knowing nothing on the continent wants your smoke, the Anaconda is pure American thunder. Cops and bad guys from the 90s both agree. The second that giant .429 hole swings your way, the argument is usually over before the cylinder even turns. Same voodoo still works in 2025, and honestly, it feels good to have the king of the snake guns back on the throne. The Taurus Raging Hunter in 460 Smith & Wesson. For around $900, you're walking away with a 65-ounce, 13.2-inch long stainless and matte black monster wearing a 6.75-inch ported barrel that looks like a howitzer had a baby with a revolver. This thing is built on Taurus's massive Raging frame with a 5-shot cylinder that's almost 2 inches wide just to contain the nuclear pressures of the 460 S&W round. Factory numbers with a 200-grain Hornady XTP have that bullet screaming out at 2,200 FPS and slamming the target with 2,100 foot-pounds of energy, which is more than most 30-30 deer rifles and damn near 45-70 territory, except you can wear it in a chest holster while you're tearing through the timber on a four-wheeler. The dual-chamber porting up top and the factory compensator shave felt recoil by 30 to 40%. So instead of breaking your wrist, it just feels like an angry mule kicked you in the palm, totally shootable even with one hand if you're stubborn enough. Rubber grip has a cushioned insert that turns the sting into a dull roar. Picatinny top and bottom rails let you hang a red dot or a light. And the fiber optic front with adjustable rear keeps you on target way past 100 yards. Best feature by far is the multi-caliber cylinder. Drop in .454 Casual for cheaper practice or full power bear insurance, or stuff it with .45 Colt Cowboy loads when you just want to plink and not hate life. Trigger breaks clean at about 10 pounds double and 4 single, which is honestly shocking for a Taurus in this price range. Downsides, it's long, loud, and the fireball is visible from orbit. Forget concealed carry unless your cover garment is a circus tent. And spare ammo costs more than decent bourbon. But if you want rifle-level energy, hog-flattening terminal performance, and the ability to make every living creature within a quarter mile rethink its choices, the second you touch one off, the Raging Hunter is the cheapest ticket to the big boy table on the planet. Touch off a full house load at dusk, and the muzzle flash literally lights up the trees like a flare. I've seen grown men duck when they weren't even downrange. This isn't a handgun. It's a portable artillery piece that just happens to fit in a holster, and it's stupid fun for way less money than it has any right to be. The Magnum Research BFR chambered in, 4570 Government, the biggest, finest revolver ever mass-produced and the only wheelgun on Earth that lets you carry a buffalo rifle on your hip. Starting right around $1,200 to $1,300, sometimes less on a good day, you get a 4.2-pound, all-stainless, single-action beast that stretches 15 inches overall with the standard 7.5-inch match-grade barrel or 17.5 inches if you go full cowboy with the 10-inch tube. The cylinder is an absolute joke, almost 2.3 inches long and 1.85 inches in diameter just to swallow those 2.6-inch long 4570 cartridges, giving you 5 rounds of pure 1870s thunder that Grandpa's Marlin can only dream about. Feed it Buffalo Boar. plus P 500 grain hardcast, and you're pushing 1,600 to 1,650 foot-pounds at the muzzle with a 430 grain at almost 1,600 FPS, still carrying 1,800 plus foot-pounds downrange. I've personally watched one turn a 12-inch cinder block into powder and bury the slug 3 feet into hard-packed dirt 50 yards later. The frame is machined from a solid 17:4 stainless brick. The barrel is stress-relieved and cut-rifled, and the grip frame is sized like a Taurus 4, so the recoil goes straight back instead of trying to flip the gun out of your hand. Trigger breaks at a crisp 3.5 to 4 pounds, with no creep. Factory adjustable rear sight and interchangeable front blade let you dial it in for whatever load you're running, and the bore axis is low enough that follow-ups are actually doable if you've been doing your push-ups. Downsides, it's the size of a small canoe, weighs almost 5 pounds loaded. The fireball is visible from space, and the concussion will sterilize anyone standing to your right or left. Concealed carry is a meme, unless your name is Paul Bunyan, and brass costs more than steak. But if you want the deepest penetration handgun on the planet, the ability to load anything from light 300 grain plinkers to 540 grain Hammer of Thor pile drivers in the same cylinder, and the sheer joy of watching the entire firing line go silent. The first time you touch one off, the BFR is unmatched. It doesn't just break rules, it erases them, then uses the eraser shavings to reload. The reborn Colt Python. Same $1,500 neighborhood as the Anaconda, same mirror-bright stainless steel that looks wet even when it's bone dry, but this one is the smoothest, most accurate combat wheel gun ever to leave Hartford. Overall length comes in right at 11.5 inches, with that iconic 6-inch barrel sitting under the ventilated ribs that screams 1970s cool guy energy. Unloaded weight is a perfect 46 ounces, heavy enough to soak up recoil but light enough to carry all day without feeling like you're dragging an anchor. The magic is in the details. Colt went back to the old school hand-fitted barrel-to-cylinder gap that's tighter than a politician's smile, a full-length ejector rod housing that stiffens everything up, and a trigger that's been the stuff of legend for 50 years. Out of the box, you're looking at a 9 to 10 pound double-action pull that rolls like butter, and a single-action brake right around 3.5 to 4 pounds with zero creep, zero over travel, just a crisp snap that feels illegal. Sights are classic Python. Red ramp front, fully adjustable rear, long sight radius that makes hitting easy, look accidental. Feed it good, 125 grain jacketed hollow points, and you're pushing 1,450, 1,500 FPS from that 6-inch tube, dumping almost 600 foot-pounds per hit with expansion that turns bad guys into leak machines. Yeah, on paper that's only Choa 357, but 6 of those in under 2 seconds inside a living room turns the toughest dude into a very polite former problem. Balance is absolutely perfect. Bring it up, and the gun just floats exactly where your eyes are looking. No muscle, no correction, pure point-and-click interface. The factory walnut or rubber grips fit like they scanned your hand, and the deep royal blued or brushed stainless finish still makes people stop and stare the way a Lamborghini does. Drawbacks? It's not cheap. Speed loaders cost extra, and if you're used to 15+1 polymer striker guns, it feels old school, but that's the point. This is the revolver that made an entire generation of cops and robbers measure cool by the inch of ventilated rib on the top strap. The new 2020 and later guns actually shoot tighter than most of the originals ever dreamed of, and when some Glock diehard picks one up, dry fires it twice, and starts Googling second mortgage rates, you know the spell still works exactly like it did in 1985. The Python doesn't just win fights, it wins souls. The Ruger Super Redhawk Alaskan, for about $1,500 you get a 44-ounce, 7.5-inch long stainless brick with the shortest barrel Ruger dares to sell. Just 2.5 inches of pure violence that still pushes a 250 or 300 grain hardcast, flat nose at 1,350 to 1,500 feet per second, and slams the target with 1,200 to 1,500 foot-pounds of stop right now energy. That's 44 Magnum on steroids. And out of that little pipe, the muzzle flash is a legitimate daylight visible orange sun, and the report is a physical slap that rattles teeth 20 yards away. The frame is Ruger's monster, Super Redhawk stretched and reinforced with the famous triple locking cylinder. Locks front, rear, and at the crane, so even when you're Magnum spamming in a full adrenaline dump, the timing never drifts. Hogue Tomer, monogrip with the soft rubber insert and peg, is one of the best recoil-eating stocks ever made. It turns what should be a wrist-shattering beating into something you can actually shoot one-handed without crying. Integral scope rings machined into the frame let you slap a red dot or low-power scout scope on top if you want. And the big orange ramp front with adjustable rear still works even when the fireball tries to blind you. It'll also eat 45 Colt all the way down to light cowboy loads, so you can practice without selling a kidney for ammo. Downsides, it's thick as a coffee mug, weighs more than most full-size 1911s with a spare mag. And the fireball plus concussion in low light is so violent, you'll see stars even if you're the one pulling the trigger. Concealed carry is basically a shoulder holster or bust. But if you're in grizzly country, glacier guiding, or just want the fastest possible 6 shots of guaranteed penetration that can punch through a bear skull or an engine block without slowing down, this stubby tank is the gold standard. I carried one as backup on a brown bear hunt in southeast Alaska a couple years ago. And when the guide saw it, he just nodded once and said, "Good, that one works." That's all the endorsement you'll ever need. 6 rounds, 6 problems gone, and the 7th problem is usually too stunned from the shockwave to keep coming. We enter the church of absolute precision with the Freedom Arms Model 83, the single-action revolver that costs more than a lot of decent used pickups and shoots, like it's personally insulted by the idea of a group larger than a dime. Starting around $3 grand for a field grade and climbing fast once you check the premier options, this Wyoming-built 5-shot tank is machined from solid stainless billets with tolerances measured in tenths of a thousandth. Every single gun leaves the factory with a test target that usually looks like one ragged hole. Overall length with the popular 4.75-inch barrel is a handy 10.25 inches. Weight hovers right at 52 ounces unloaded, and the grip frame is sculpted so perfectly that it feels custom molded the first time you wrap your hand around it. Lockwork is pure jewelry. The hammer and trigger are hand-fitted. The single-action pull breaks at a glass-crisp 2.5 pounds with 0 take-up and 0 over-travel, and the 5-shot cylinder is line-bored and timed so perfectly you can literally feel the perfection when you cock it. In 454 Castle Premier configuration, a 300-grain wide flat-nose buffalo bore load leaves that short tube at 1,600 FPS and still delivers BOAM 700 foot-pounds at the muzzle, while punching one-hole groups at 50 yards all day long. Guys routinely mount a low-power scope on the factory-drilled frame and drop elk clean at 200 yards, like they're shooting a custom bolt gun that costs twice as much. The bore axis sits ridiculously low. Recoil flips straight back into the meat of your hand instead of torquing your wrist. And the gun is so overbuilt, you could drive over it with a side-by-side, and it would still shoot sub-MOA when you picked it up. Downsides? 5 rounds instead of 6, you have to cock it every time, and full house loads will make you see God whether you believe or not. Spare cylinders and fancy grips push the price into sell the truck territory. But nothing on Earth is as reliable when it's 30 below and muddy, because there's literally nothing to break. No transfer bar, no side plate, no tiny parts hiding in the frame. When another shooter spots that octagon barrel, the FA logo, and realizes you only brought 5 shots, the fight usually ends right there, because they instantly know you're the guy who doesn't need 6. This isn't a revolver, it's a surgical instrument that just happens to fire freight trains. And it's the reason a lot of serious hunters and backcountry guides still swear by single actions in 2025. 1 perfect shot, 1 dead problem, 0 drama. We go straight to the fatherland for a revolver that costs more than most people's rifles and shoots like it's personally offended by the concept of missing. The Korth NXS, better known stateside as the NXS through Nighthawk Custom. Yeah, you're dropping just north of 5 grand, but the moment this thing lands in your hand, you get it. This is a 50-ounce all-stainless masterpiece with a DLC black finish that looks wet and laughs at scratches, measuring 11.2 inches overall, with a cold hammer forged 4-inch match-grade barrel, riding inside a frame machined to tolerances that would make a Rolex blush. The real party trick is the 8-shot cylinder. That's right, 8 rounds of .357 Magnum when every other wheelgun on the planet is still stuck at 6. They pull it off with a slightly larger but still concealable frame that keeps the girth reasonable. The cylinder alone is a work of art. Perfect indexing, zero end shake, and a forced moon clip system that lets you reload faster than most guys can drop a semi-auto mag. Trigger is hand-tuned at the factory. We're talking a rolling 8-pound double action that feels like greased glass and a single action brake right at 2.6 pounds with literally zero creep or over travel. Sights are fully adjustable target style with a 14K gold bead front blade you can swap in seconds for different loads. And the grip frame accepts interchangeable panels so you can dial the fit exactly to your hand. Recoil with full house 125 grain loads at 1,600 plus. FPS is shockingly tame thanks to the mass and a low bore axis that sits almost in line with your forearm. I've watched guys ring 10-inch steel at 100 yards one-handed like they're cheating, and my buddy's best 50-yard group with Hornady XTP measured 1.7 inches center to center. He just set the gun down and walked away because the target owed him money. Downsides? Besides the price tag that'll make your wife file paperwork, it's a little chunky for appendix carry, and spare ammo isn't exactly growing on trees. But if you want the smoothest, most accurate, highest capacity .357 Magnum combat revolver ever built, and you want bad guys to realize they brought a knife to a space program gunfight the second they see it, the NXS is pure German witchcraft in steel form. It doesn't just shoot, it makes a statement, and that statement is, I brought perfection and I'm not afraid to invoice you for it. Sitting alone at the very top, like it's waiting on a throne made of broken recoil springs and shattered egos, the Smith & Wesson Model 500, the most powerful production handgun ever sold to regular people. Full stop. $1,500 gets you a 67-ounce, 13.5-inch long X-frame Colossus built on a platform Smith had to invent from scratch, because nothing else on Earth could contain the 500 S&W Magnum cartridge. That 4-inch barrel with the massive integral compensator looks like a subway tunnel, and when you stuff it with a 350-grain Buffalo Bore or Hornady XTP, you're watching that slug rip out at 1,075 feet per second and deliver a legit 3,000 foot-pounds at the muzzle. More raw energy than a Siston 375 H&H beltless Magnum rifle. Except you can strap this monster to your chest while you're side-hilling after elk at 10,000 feet. The 5-shot cylinder is so big it needs its own zip code. The frame is 17-4 stainless with extra metal everywhere. And the muzzle brake is so effective it turns what should be a hospital visit level, beating into something that just feels like an angry mule wearing horseshoes kicked you square in the palm. Factory synthetic grip has a soft rubber panel that actually works. The trigger is a surprisingly smooth 9-10 pounds double action with a clean 4.5 pound single, orange fiber optic front sight, glows like a road flare, and the adjustable black rear gives you a sight picture you can actually use even when the world is on fire from the muzzle flash. The bore is 1/2 inch across. When someone looks down that hole, they don't see a gun. They see the last mistake they'll ever make. I've watched grown men who brag about their 44 Magnums shoot one cylinder of full house loads, hand it back with shaking hands, and quietly whisper, "I'm good, I'll keep my AR." The flash lights up nighttime like high noon. The shockwave physically moves car mirrors 50 yards away. And the sound is a physical event that rattles fillings. Downsides? It's the size of a newborn, weighs almost 5 pounds loaded, costs a fortune to feed, and forget hiding it unless your jacket is made from a parade float. But if you want the ultimate expression of handheld stopping power, the one revolver that makes every other handgun on this list look cute, the one that turns dangerous game into a past tense conversation, the Model 500 is it. This isn't a firearm, it's a ballistic declaration of dominance. And the statement is simple. I didn't come to argue, I came to end the discussion permanently. So, there you have it, 8 wheel guns that don't need a 30-round mag or a red dot the size of a soda can to get the job done. They just need you to pull the trigger once or twice and let physics handle the rest. Raw, simple, terrifying power you can stick in a holster and forget about until the day you really, really need it. Which one would you trust when the chips are down and second place isn't an option? Drop it in the comments, argue with your buddies, and if you enjoyed this ride, smash that like button and stick around, because next time we're diving into the hunting cartridges so wild they got banned from store shelves. See you then.